And welcome back to the Get Lit podcast, a podcast brought to you by Southern Lighting Solutions. My name is McHugh David. I'm co founder of Southern Lighting Solutions, or SLS for short. Here with my business partner today. Good afternoon, sir. We had a little bit of a giggle.
Yes, we did.
But go ahead and introduce yourself.
I am Tarek Alameddin,
Yes. And you are.
a co-founder of Southern Lighting Solutions,
What? There we go. And
with enthusiasm
with enthusiasm.
for 2021.
Yeah, right. Actually, today we are going to be talking to you about some of our trials and tribulations here in 2021. It's going to be a fun episode. We're going to pick a lot of fun on ourselves here and talk a little bit about some of the issues that we've faced.
Are we calling them issues as I snort?
Yeah, right. We're going to call them issues because this is a corporate friendly podcast. Again, the Get Lit podcast brought to you by Southern Lighting Solutions. So first, we haven't been with you guys in a while, and part of that is because we've kind of been on our grind. We've got a new website coming out next week. Our catalog is going to be ready sometime over the weekend.
Yeah.
That's been fun, and we've also kind of faced some interesting logistical challenges.
Oh yeah, 2021 has not been fun for shipping,
No.
neither from a time scale or cost.
Right. So first and foremost, we're going to jump in on the catalog, and we're going to start there, and we're going to tell you a little bit about what we've been going through. Thankfully, my dearly beloved has been helping us. She is a web designer, and she's been helping us put together our website. Again, that should be ready next week, and hopefully, we're going to record one after this. We might wait to release one until the
Right.
catalog.
We're recording more than one today.
Yes, we are.
That was a surprise to me.
Well, we are a little behind. We haven't recorded in a couple of weeks, but we're going to talk about that first. So we're now 2 minutes in. So let's talk about the catalog. Catalog's been fun, hasn't it?
Yes, it's been interesting.
Sure. And I mean, it's interesting because we've both come at it with different angles, right? And our graphics artist, who is Paul, he's out there. He's a Tottenham fan. He's not too happy right now.
No, he's not.
He and Tarek are both soccer geeks. That's been fun. But we have a graphics designer, Paul. Again, he's British, and sort of all three of us have brought a very different style to bear when it comes to that. You have the institutional knowledge about the lights and everything that's going
Sure.
into it. I've got the idea of logistics because I've been putting together a newspaper for well over a decade. And Paul has how am I going to make this look good? How am I going to make this attractive? And it's been interesting.
It has, and from, like you said, an institutional standpoint, the best word for it to sound politically correct. There's an American way of doing details, and there is a rest of the world way of doing details.
We got to make sure that barrier to entry here in America it's high. It needs to be high, right?
Yeah.
So give us, obviously, y'all will be able to go check out that catalog online if you really want to see this. But kind of give us an idea of what those differences
Well,
are.
I mean, it's just an amalgamation of all the various kinds of information that you would include in a data sheet, in a spec sheet, and a catalog. Whereas the Europeans, the Asians, they tend to just give you very broad ranges and specific kinds of information that if you're looking at it, you know what to select and what you're looking for to do the combination yourself. And the spec sheet might only be 1 or 2 pages long at most. The American version, and this may have to do with just the US code, the way it's done, there's a whole slew of information and data that realistically almost nobody looks at, but they include it anyways. And when you want to do your product selection, you select a coding, like they have at the bottom. And I guess it's in that regards, that is something that we've incorporated because it's better. You can't say, we ordered the wrong thing. Well, this is what you selected, because they just follow the codes,
Right.
Which I think removes a certain layer of interpersonal type relationships between the designers, architects, one they're just pulling out a code from a catalog, and that's the American version. Whereas, what we're used to seeing abroad is you work a lot with the lighting designers, with the architects to incorporate what you're looking for, various color temperatures, various outputs, and then that entire picture comes together, and it's specified, if you will. They'll give you the breakdown. It's not just based on the straight up codes, um, to a certain extent.
Sure.
Now, we are seeing a lot of the bigger European companies beginning to adopt this American type, excuse me, this American style of coding.
COVID.
Yeah, yeah. No, don't. No. This that was terrible. This American style of coding, just because it simplifies everything.
Right. And it does, and there's something to be said for both sides, right?
Sure.
There should be a little bit of personal interaction between a light engineer, who's maybe creating new lights or trying to create new fixtures, a light designer, and the architect.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's another thing. When you see the actual sales happening, a lighting consultant, sales consultant over here is very different than a lighting consultant abroad. A lighting consultant here is, more or less, for the most part, so I'm not, lopping everyone into this, is more so give me the code that you want. They'll help you find a nice design that you want, um, for your house, for your apartment, for whatever application that you have. But they're not gonna have very intricate knowledge about lighting itself. They just follow the coding that's there in front of you. Whereas, abroad, when you start talking lighting with these lighting consultants, these consultants, there is a lot of depth and understanding, and discussions that can happen to tweak and tailor what you have. And that's probably because the kinds of lighting used abroad is different than the kinds of lighting used over here in general.
Sure, a lot of times over here, people are looking for, homogeneous fixtures and things that are kind of already put together for them. They just need to know, okay, what's the spec on this? What's going to be the downcast? And that's what I want, and we're going with it.
Sure.
Whereas abroad, a lot of what we've seen or what you have seen, and I've come to learn, is that people are more interested in, especially in higher end projects, very much fixtures that are tailored to the project.
Sure. I mean, over there you have a lot of integrated fixtures. You have a lot of architectural type fixtures, whereas unfortunately over here, and we're seeing a change that's happening. It's still your typical can lights.
Right.
This is what we're going for. I don't think I've seen a can light used abroad in at least a decade, and over here it's still prevalent. And if that's what works for them, so be it. But you're slowly starting to see that change happen.
Sure. And we have lights that both function as sort of a retrofit that might plug into the old bulb base, or we have total fixture replacements.
I mean, as long as you can meet U.S. codes, building codes, that's what matters.
Sure. And so within the catalog, we have a variety of different sections, and it's been interesting going through each different section because there's a lot of different ways to approach it. And I mean, we kind of had to come to a consensus: what seems good, what sounds good, what is good.
Sure.
A lot of times those
the
three
trials
things
and tribulations.
Absolutely. And a lot of times those three things sound very much are very much different outcomes.
Right.
So, one of the interesting parts is that we have a wide variety of downlight that happens to have multiple parts. You could have a different base, a different driver, and a different lens.
Oh yeah, the luster family. If we just used so that's our architectural lights.
Right.
For those listening in, if you took all the possible combinations you can do with this one light, you'd have over 110,000 combinations.
Right.
That you can put together.
Right.
Just from lumen outputs to reflectors to is it round, is it trimless, is it square, on the inside is it a black reflector, is it matte, is it gold, is it rose gold? I mean, it's modular.
Right.
It is a highly modular downlight.
and sort of a mix and match kind of deal,
Absolutely.
just based on the job. But you don't see a lot of that here, at least not yet. Why do you think that is?
I think people worry about the building code, like you said. How am I going to fit this into my ceiling as a retrofit? You'd have to change it if it's gypsum wall, drywall. You'd have to. I mean, it's an easier fix, but no, sorry, it's not an easier fix. It's a more complicated fix because you have to bring it out. You have to put a special plate in, and get your junction boxes into place, etc. Whereas if it's a ceiling tile, it becomes very simple. We have a mounting plate,
Mm-hmm.
cut the size that we need to, and it meets UL code.
Sure. And we have those panel lay-ins like we've talked about, but those
But again, you have to figure a lot of the old houses, a lot of they're not built for these
right.
kinds of fixtures. It's something new that's happening, and again, a lot of people don't know about them. This is part of our ongoing podcast, just to try and educate people on every day going out and meeting people and educating them. And it's been exceptionally positive, but it's still, trials and tribulations.
Sure. And it has been, it's been interesting trying to get in front of people and kind of let them know, hey, this is what's going on. These are some of the things that we can do. And a lot of people get a little overwhelmed, especially some of these smaller places that are just like, hey, look, I got panels.
Yeah.
I just need you to come replace some panels.
Sure.
But we wanted to make sure, at least through our sort of humbling and education, we wanted to make sure that we had a diverse portfolio and a diverse catalog to show people, to show them, okay, we can put together a project for the simple, and we can put together a
Sure.
project for the complicated.
And I mean, here's the interesting dynamic of that, which is, you have a lot of great American architectural firms in Miami, Houston, LA, New York that specify these kinds of lights and projects all over the world. I mean, really cutting edge stuff. But you just don't see that over here. And it's like, why? What's happening? And I guess it's maybe it's too difficult to get all the information out to the consumer. Excuse me. Round two. Maybe it is. We really haven't seen that process between that disconnect, if you will, that exists right there. And that may be because a lot of the houses are just, as residential, as an example, are just mass produced by the same 2, 3, 4 giant companies that just modular in, out, get it done. That's what we're going with. It works
Right.
for us.
Right.
Why break what works and try something new?
Sure. And that's why we're, trying to make sure that we have an offering. And that's why it took a while to say, okay, we want this in the catalog, we don't want this.
Sure.
Then we have to figure out, the layout of it, the design of it. Then Paul made it pretty.
Yeah. Wow.
COVID.
It's just allergies, yeah. But no, anyways, I mean, you see he changes and availability to do a lot of this stuff with more wealthy clients,
Right.
that are willing to bring a little more money to do this.
Sure. So from that standpoint, it's taken us a while to kind of pull all that together. We had sort of a simple catalog for commercial customers to begin with, and it turned out to just not quite have that breadth.
Right.
It kind of confined us to a space. We really weren't we were more of a commercial lighting replacement solutions kind of company. We weren't a full solutions company.
Right.
And so we have moved forward again. That should be coming out in the next couple of days. We also, again, we have solutions for all your lighting problems. There's going to be controls and stuff in it. So lots of options. Only going to touch briefly on the website, because the website is for the most part going to reflect the catalog. There'll just be some extra pictures
Sure.
of some projects we've had and some projects that you've done in the past. Just kind of show some experience. But from there, we've also had some
shipping.
Yes, we've had
goddamn shipping. I mean, I shouldn't say that. That's
well, there it is. It's out there, and it's been very, very interesting. So, I want to make some comments in a little bit about Louisiana Economic Development actually has an international committee who has recognized this and sees it as an opportunity. But it's been tough because, for the most part, what we have learned is that people who are importing into Louisiana, and if they're coming from China, they tend to go into LAX port or San Diego port and then rail or truck it into Louisiana. Apparently, COVID or not, the Panama Canal trip just takes a long time. At least that's what.
Yeah.
But right now, because of so much pent up demand that is now being supplied from the Chinese side, boats might sit in LA Harbor for 2-3 weeks before they're even unloaded. That doesn't even include customs runs.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
we have American products, we have European products, we also do Chinese products. And
Sure, to cover the entire spectrum.
sure. And so one of the things that you and I heard, or specifically you're the one in contact with them, is when this started, when COVID started to hit China, they shut down.
Oh
Right?
yeah, I mean the world knows they shut down, and it's been a nightmare, not just for the logistics, but also for prices.
Right.
I mean, wow. I mean, we were shocked. The just shipping in general went up by almost 50-60%
Right.
overnight.
Right.
But to be expected, I guess. To be
Right.
expected.
Supply and demand, and right now there's just not quite enough people working these ports because a lot of them have to follow very specific COVID guidelines, usually platooning, not enough labor on either shift.
Yeah. So now basically it's like, how am I going to? We wake up in the morning, we see where our items are, and the the American stuff is golden. The workshops that we work with, other suppliers that we work with, it's a quick turnaround. Stuff from abroad is, well, I'm gonna flip a coin. Do I really want to look at this? It's like the stock market.
Right. And right now one of the interesting things we're dealing with is we're waiting for we have several containers going back and forth, but we're waiting for one specifically at the moment. It happens to have an external hard drive in
To
it that
yeah.
I'm after, and it
To quote generation, is it Y generation Y now that we're at, or is
Z.
we're Generation Z?
Mm-hmm.
What we're experiencing with shipping right now is commonly referred to on TikTok as YOLO.
Yeah. Well, it's a rough situation. So it shipped 6 weeks ago from China, and yeah, it was on the boat. Well, excuse me, it didn't ship. It was on the boat in China the first week in February. We will receive that container the first week in April.
Yes, so 8 weeks.
Yep, and that's pretty unheard of. Most other parts of the world, you're looking at probably a 3 week shipping cycle. To get to the West Coast is about a 2.5, 3 week cycle.
Yeah.
So this was interesting. It was a learning experience for us.
Right.
And one of the things that we found through that LED committee is they understand that right now the opportunity is there for them to try to seize more Chinese business. Getting through the Panama Canal, especially with COVID, they're limited on labor,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And if you don't know what the Panama Canal is, it's a giant series of locks through Central America. They're struggling to get ships back and forth through there in a timely manner. So it's a mess. I mean, it really is. It's a mess. It has caused us a lot of pain, a lot of issue. But it has been a learning experience. So we know in the future, as things sort of get more into a normal shipping cycle,
It's forced us to adapt.
it has forced us to adapt, at least for the time being. But as things move, depending on what New Orleans plans to do with this money, probably going to have to focus more on shipping through LAX and then trying to
Well,
bring
it's
it in
not
on the
just that.
ground.
It's also showed us, when we've had to I don't know what the word that I'm looking for is, but we've had to adapt in certain ways. We found that fully American made products, that we had to be competitive on because just that's the segment, where you're competing against the Chinese, which they heavily dominate, turned out to be not much more expensive as a cost to produce by the time you had shipping, tariffs, taxes and all of that slapped onto the product that you're importing, making certain products here was cheaper,
Right.
more or less.
Which has been isn't that interesting, right? Because you constantly hear cheaper from China.
Or you hear it's too expensive to manufacture over here,
Right.
where it isn't. Well, it is and it isn't. It's a double-edged sword, but
Sure. I mean, it's still slightly more, but that's become very close to slightly. I mean,
right.
a few percentage points. So if you can put that premium on American-made goods, it works out for you.
Sure.
So it has been. There's been a lot of things.
I mean,
Yep.
obviously, people might say, well, why are products so expensive then? What about bottom lines? It's not always about the bottom line in certain cases.
Sure.
Yes, we've got to be, profitable and all of that, but at the end of the day, with these few items, which American made, and I mean fully American made, we could sell them at the same rate as the Chinese product,
Right.
and people will get a fully American made product.
Right. And same quality and everything.
Oh, even higher quality.
Right. So again, we've learned a lot through these last couple of weeks. We are looking forward to getting into our renovation.
Additional renovations, yep.
Here at the office, and actually getting product in. We had already sold a lot of our old stuff, and we have some new projects now that 2021's kind of opened the gate. And those people are like, "Where's my stuff?" And well, we're trying,
yeah,
but we can't make the boat go any
I mean,
faster.
that's why I said we had to make concessions, with some of the American-made products just to get people preliminary items that they needed.
Right.
And it was an eye opener. Now, trials and tribulations. Yes,
yeah.
It was interesting, but at least, I'm going to take a pot shot here at Paul. At the very least, I got to see Tottenham lose.
There you go.
Again.
On White Hart Lane. So again, we appreciate you guys joining us for this one. This is kind of a bridge between, I guess you would call, our first season, where we're kind of getting out.
This is just random talk,
Well, and we got some light discussion in there, but we kind of want to let y'all know where we've been and talk a little bit about, some of the decisions we've had to make internally and some of the things that we do have to offer. I mean, if you're looking for modular downloads,
and we thank people for their input and advice they've given us about the website, about the catalog, which has allowed us really to tailor and adapt it.
Yeah, and we're really excited to release the new version of the catalog and the new version of the website again, probably by the end of this weekend, which would be Sunday, March 21st. So again, my name is McHugh David, co-founder of Southern Lighting Solutions. My business partner here, if you'll outro yourself, please.
My name is Tarek Alameddin, again.
And also,
I'll get better at this.
Yes, we are developing a rapport here.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the Get Lit podcast, brought to you by Southern Lighting Solutions. Again, we appreciate y'all's patience. And as he said, we do appreciate the feedback we've received on this podcast, actually. We've heard from a few people locally who have watched it.
Oh, yeah.
And, gotten some feedback there. And who have given us some feedback on the catalog, the website, and a couple other things.
Oh, and leads.
Yeah, and leads. Thank y'all for those. Those are always great. Leads are great. So anyway, we do appreciate you joining us, and we will see you next time.
Absolutely.